Prime Ministers, Ministers, Ambassadors, distinguished participants, dear friends, it is indeed a great honor to welcome you all to the Fourth Assembly. And thank you for the support you have given to the evolution of the Arctic Circle, a platform which has become the largest annual international gathering on the Arctic. Once again, the Assembly welcomes representatives from nearly 50 countries, hosting more than 90 sessions on diverse topics, projects, and issues, with over 400 speakers from governments and ministries, businesses and corporations, research institutions, universities, think tanks, environmental organizations, indigenous communities, and other stakeholders in Arctic affairs. Altogether, like last year, about 2,000 participants. And since its foundation 3 years ago, the Arctic Circle has become a venue for dialogue and cooperation, but based on the principle of openness and democratic involvement, giving equal access to a young enthusiast and a head of state and leaders of governments, bringing together participants from all the Arctic states, as well as leading countries in Europe, Asia, and other parts of the world. And while the Assembly presents a panorama of Arctic issues, the Arctic Circle forums, which we launched last year, focus on specific topics, and each attended by a few hundred participants. The first forum was in Alaska of August of last year, devoted primarily to ports and shipping in the Arctic. The second took place last November in Singapore, highlighting the Asian role and mission in the Arctic, and was indeed the first such gathering ever to be held in Asia. The third was in Greenland in May of this year, an extraordinary gathering concentrating on the economic progress of the indigenous communities, organized in close cooperation with the government of Greenland. With over 300 participants from 20 countries, it became the largest international conference ever convened in Greenland. These forums are held in cooperation with local partners and authorities, as will be the case with the fourth forum in Quebec this coming December, organized around the central theme of regional development in the Arctic, with specific references to the successful Plan du Nord in Quebec. And I want to thank here today Premier Couillard and his officials for their cooperation, their vision, and their leadership, and encourage all of you to not just consider participation in the assemblies every October here in Reykjavik, and you have the dates for the next 3 assemblies at the back of your program, but also take a close look at each and individual forum that come up both in Quebec later this year and next year and the following years. But dear friends, since we came here together last year, the great French statesman, Michel Rocard, a former Prime Minister of France, an extraordinary friend of the Arctic, and the representative of 2 French presidents, both President Sarkozy and President Hollande, to the polar regions, has regrettably passed away. He was among the first people with whom I shared 4 and 5 years ago the vision of a cooperation which has become the Arctic Circle. And his support, his enthusiasm, and his involvement in all the assemblies while he was still alive lent a great credibility to our common effort. No other European statesman had in recent years played such a unique leadership role in the growing global cooperation on the Arctic. And I would like to ask all of you to rise and honor with a brief silence the great memory of this unique statesman and a friend of the Arctic, Mr. Ragnar. Thank you. The relationship between the assemblies every October here in Iceland and the forums in other countries demonstrates truly the international dimension and the global nature of our partnership, how we aim to serve the successful evolution of the Arctic and thus assist the Arctic Council and other governmental and international organizations in their important endeavors. This year, we have indeed witnessed significant results of the United States chairmanship of the Arctic Council, due, among other things, to the personal contribution by President Obama and Secretary John Kerry and their extraordinary and capable and visionary officials. But we are also seeing how other countries have in new ways demonstrated a profound understanding of the Arctic as a testing ground for the health of the Earth's climate. And we are especially honored here today that the United States Secretary of State John Kerry has once again demonstrated his support for the Arctic cooperation and for the Arctic Circle especially by sending a special video message which arrived this morning to this opening session. It will be played in the beginning of the speeches. But let me also say that I vividly remember that at the first assembly, although he was far away in Afghanistan, he wrote a special letter in support of the Arctic Circle, which was read out here on this platform during the first Arctic Circle Assembly. And I want to convey here today our deep thanks to Secretary Kerry and the American administration for their engagement and support in our effort. But we also, many of us who were here last year, vividly remember how at the last year's assembly, President Francois Hollande of France showed his commitment to the success of the upcoming Paris climate negotiations by giving on this platform an extraordinary, emotional and visionary speech. And tomorrow, we will welcome Ban Ki-moon to this stage, who made the international climate cooperation the core mission of his tenure as Secretary General of the United Nations. The Assembly will also, during this weekend, to reflect the growing interest and the involvement in the Arctic by, for example, the keynote speech delivered soon by the First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, by a special plenary session organized by the Foreign Ministry of Switzerland, and by many other new and innovative sessions that will take place during this assembly. Furthermore, the Foreign Minister of Finland will in this opening session outline the vision of his country, which next year will take on the chairmanship of the Arctic Council. In this way, the Arctic Circle Assembly embraces the involvement of diversity of participants and stakeholders, representing all the different communities, institutions, enterprises, associations, and governments, taking an active interest in the present and the future of the Arctic. We are grateful for all your contributions to the growth and the success of the Arctic Circle. And I want, especially here today, to thank my successor, President Guðni Th. Jóhannesson, and the government of Iceland, led in this respect by the Prime Minister, Sigurður Ingi Jóhannsson, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Lilja Dögg Alfreðsdóttir, for their continuing support for the Arctic Circle. The preparation for the Assembly and the forums have been in the capable hands of the Arctic Circle Secretariat. And once again, I thank them for their dedication, hard work, and splendid professionalism. Together with all others who serve the Arctic Circle in various capacities, this young generation of Arctic enthusiasts facilitates the success of our endeavors. I am also deeply grateful to our partner organizations, to the foundations and the financial supporters for their commitment to the Arctic Circle, to the success of our international, open, and democratic cooperation. We are indeed, dear friends, witnessing a new global awareness of the significance of the Arctic, how this vast part of our planet, approximately the size of Africa when we put it all together, will play a profound role in the future of humankind. And once again, the Assembly of the Arctic Circle demonstrates the commitment and the vision of our dynamic and growing coalition. And with these words, I welcome you again and wish you all a productive days during the numerous activities and sessions of the Assembly, and ask Alice Rokov and Frederick Paulson to chair the opening session. Thank you.